Hey guys, in this video, we will learn how to use the print statement in Python. The print statement is used for output. So that's the key thing you need to understand. We generally perform calculations, and once the calculations are performed, we need to display the answer to the user. And this is done using the print statement. And in the print statement, we can have messages and we can have variables. The variables generally will keep the answer. And the message is to make the program user-friendly so that the user understands what is being output by the program. So we output messages and we can output variables. In the print statement, we can make use of the comma. The comma is a separator, and it's used generally to separate a string. And frequently, I will say, I'll use the word messages. When I refer to a message, I'm actually referring to a string. So we use a comma to separate between a message and a variable. So Python is able to distinguish between the message in one part of the print statement and then the variable in the other part. We can also use the plus symbol in a print statement. Now, the plus symbol can be used to add numbers as a form of a calculation, or we can use the plus in a different way, and there it would be used to join strings. So when you're using the plus in a print statement, join, another word for that would be to concatenate. So it's used to concatenate strings. So we have to make sure that when we're using the plus, that we are working with strings all the time. Let's look at some examples. So I've got two integer variables. I've got a equals to 10, b equals to 40, and then I've got two string variables. X is equal to hello, and y is equal to world. And just keep in mind that there is a space after the quote. And because there's a space inside of that string, that space will be printed if we had to print the variable y. Let's look at some examples using the print statement. So in this example, we're using the plus, and we indicated that the plus could be used to concatenate or to perform a calculation. Because the plus is being used with two integer variables, 10 and 40, these are going to simply be a calculation, and the print is going to work out 10 plus 40, giving you a total of 50, and will display an answer of 50. So that is just a simple calculation. In the second example, we are printing a, comma b. So here we're just printing the variable. There's no calculation being done. We're just printing the variables, and the comma is just a separator. So we would get an output of 10 and we would get 40. Obviously, the comma is not printed. It's not part of the print statement. So the two values are 10 and 40. Now, what about print b plus a? Well, again, it's just a calculation. So b is 40 and a is 10. So that would output the calculation 50. And then if you had to print b comma a, that would just reverse the order and print 40 and 10. So that's how you would use the print statement with numbers. So taking the same values, let's look at a different set of examples using the print statement. So now we are saying x plus y. So immediately, if we think back of the previous example, the plus was a calculation. But when I evaluate X and I evaluate Y, I can see that these are strings. So when you have numbers, the plus will perform addition. But when you have strings, the plus will perform concatenation, or it'll join. It'll simply join X and Y. So here, this will output X, which is hello, and Y, remember, it has a space, and then it's going to print world. So here, printing X plus Y will print hello world. If I print X comma Y, it's just going to print X, which is hello. And it's going to leave a space either way because it's now going to print the value of Y. But keep in mind that Y, which is world, has a space in it. So it's going to leave a space and then print the word world. So in this instance, because these are strings, they kind of have a similar purpose. Then if you go Y plus X, it's going to print Y first, which is space world. So it'll be a space world. And then it's going to print A, then it's going to join X to it, and it's going to print hello. So that's going to be, there's not going to be any space that's going to be left between world and hello. Here, on the other hand, it's going to print Y, which is space world, and then it's going to print hello. And because it's separated with a comma, the two values are separated using a space. So it will print world hello, which is a bit different from if we tried to print the same thing using a plus, which just concatenated and put them together. Let's look at another set of examples using the same values that we were using. In this case, if I say print A plus X, so what happens in this case? Well, we know that the plus can be used for calculations, and A is a number, but X is a string. So it's going to attempt to work with an integer, which is a number, and it's going to try to join it with a string. And that's going to result in an error. That's not going to work out. That's not going to work out. It will generate an error because you're trying to join two data types. This is an integer data type and this is a string data type, and they are not the same. You can join two variables provided they are of type string, as we did in the previous example. So I will show you how you can make this work. If you really want to make use of the plus, then you are going to have to use something like this. So you would say print. A is a number. We would need to convert that using str into a string, and then we would say plus X. Now the difference here is that I'm working with A, which has been converted into a string using the str function, and then we're joining it to X, which is also a string, and in which case it would now display 10 because it's 10 as a string and it's concatenated with X, which is hello. So that would display 10 hello. But if I had to use print A comma X, this does not result in an error. This will print the value A, which is my variable that contains the value 10. So it'll print 10, and then it'll print the value of X, which is hello. So whilst print A plus X generated an error, print A comma X will give you the output. In the one instance, the one is an integer variable, and in the other instance, it's a string variable. Let's look at further examples. Here, We are now displaying a message. So this is just a string. That is a message. And you will recall that I indicated we generally use messages to make our programs more meaningful or user-friendly to the user who will be using the program. So I've got a message to say the answer is, right? And I'm using the plus. So the plus is going to want to join this string, and it's going to want to join it to an integer. And immediately when using a plus with a string and an integer, you should now know that this will generate an error. If you want this to work, remember, as I had done in the previous example, you would need to convert this into a string, and then it would work. So in the next example, I'm using the comma. There is the comma. So here we don't have a problem. This will display the answer is. I hope you can see that. I've got some of my text from the previous example that's over it. It's going to display the answer is, which is the message, comma, and then it's going to display the value of A. And in this case, that is 10. So whilst the first example gives us an error, the second example works fine. And be careful in this particular example. The minute you use a quote open and a quote close, the entire thing becomes a message. That becomes a message. And it's going to display exactly what is between the quotes. The computer or the compiler is unable to differentiate between what is the variable in that message and what is the actual message. So when you want to separate a message and a variable, you will make use of the comma. Alternatively, you could use the plus to separate it, but make sure that if you use the plus as was in the first example, if you are printing a value, that would have to be converted into a string. Again, my message is over the print, but I'm hoping that you can see what's happening. Here it says the answer is, there's a quote, the answer is plus X. So in that particular example, I've got a string, which is my message. So that's my message, the answer is, and X is also a string, so I can join them. So that would actually print the answer is, and it will print X, which is hello. No error with that particular print statement. And look at this particular one, this print. It's got a message that says the answer is. I'm using the comma, and then it's got A plus B. So A and B, keep in mind that A and B are numbers. So what do you think would be displayed? Well, we know the message is going to print the answer is. But when we have the comma and we say A plus B, what do you think is going to be displayed here? Now, because A plus B are both integers, a calculation can be performed on A plus B, and it's then going to display the answer is, and it's going to work out the calculation as we did in the very first example. When we said print A plus B, it printed 40 plus 10, which is 50. So in this case, it's going to say A, the answer is, and it will print 50. So I hope these different examples that I did gives you a better understanding of how to go about using the print statement, and in particular, when to use the plus and when to use the comma as a separator. Till the next video, bye.